Hey, little girl, what are you doing on the road all by yourself? Where is your mother?
What if the love of your life, the person you buried with your own hands, suddenly appeared before you, alive but broken, holding a child wearing the bracelet you once gave her? This is the story of David, a billionaire whose world was turned upside down when he discovered that the woman he thought was dead and the child he never knew existed were standing right in front of him. But what he didn't know was that behind their suffering was an unexpected secret from within his own family. David, the well-known but humble billionaire, had just stepped out of a shopping mall at Victoria Island that evening. He had come alone, without his usual escorts, because sometimes he liked to enjoy simple moments like any ordinary man. He adjusted the keys in his hand and was about to head to his car when something unusual caught his eye. A little girl, no more than 5 years old, was wandering dangerously close to the busy road. Her tiny feet walked straight towards the moving traffic. The girl was holding a ragged doll, her dress torn and faded. She seemed lost, unaware of the danger rushing toward her. David's heart jumped. Without thinking twice, he shouted, "Hey, hey, stop!" But the child kept moving. In a flash, David dropped the shopping bags in his hand and dashed forward. Just as a car screeched to a halt with a loud horn, David scooped the little girl into his arms. His chest pounded. He looked at her face and said breathlessly, "What are you doing on the road all by yourself? Do you want to get hit by a car? Where is your mother?" The child's innocent eyes only blinked at him. She looked fragile, her lips dry, her hair looked rough. She held her doll tighter as if it was her only possession in this world. "Why are you out here, eh? Tell me, where is your mother?" David asked again, trying to sound gentle instead of angry. But as he looked down at her tiny wrist, something froze him on the spot. A bracelet. Not just any bracelet, his bracelet. The same golden bracelet he had given to the love of his life, Ella, many years ago. The same bracelet that was supposed to have been buried with her when death claimed to have snatched her away from him. David's breath caught. He held the girl's wrist carefully, staring at the small chain. His hand trembled. His voice cracked as he whispered, Where did you get this from?" The girl said nothing. Her innocent face remained calm, almost as if she didn't even understand what he was asking. David knelt down slowly to her height, his eyes pleading. "Don't worry, I won't hurt you. I promise. I just want to know, who gave you this bracelet?" The little girl blinked again and then turned her small finger towards a direction at the far end of the street. David's eyes followed her gesture, and then he froze completely. A woman was walking towards them. Her steps were weak, her body clothed in rags. Her hair was rough, her face pale, her slippers worn out. But even in her shabby condition, David would recognize her anywhere. It was Ella, the woman he had once loved with all his heart. The woman he thought he had lost forever. The woman he had cried for at a graveside years ago. His lips parted in shock, his hands trembled as he held the little girl closer. "Ella?" His voice was barely a whisper at first. Then louder, "Ella, is that you?" The woman stopped in her tracks. Her eyes widened, filling with tears as she whispered back, David, is it really you?" The world seemed to stop. David stood up slowly, his entire body shook, his mind was racing, struggling to believe what his eyes were seeing. "This can't be real," he stammered. "No, this is a dream. I saw it with my own eyes. I was there at your funeral. Ella, you were dead." At that moment, Ella broke down completely. She covered her face with her palms, her tears streaming uncontrollably. Her knees became weak, and she fell to the ground, hugging the little girl tightly. Her sobs echoed through the evening air. David stepped closer, still trembling. "No, this isn't real. You're not a ghost, are you? Tell me you're not a ghost." Ella could barely speak. She shook her head, weeping even harder, holding her child in desperation. David knelt beside her, his own eyes filled with tears. "Ella, is this your child?" Through sobs, she nodded. David felt a heavy weight crash into his heart. He looked at the little girl, then at Ella, his Ella, who now looked like the beggar. She was tattered, broken, reduced to a shadow of herself. The man who had faced the toughest business battles, who had conquered empires in the corporate world, suddenly felt weak. He held Ella's trembling hand, raised her gently from the dusty ground and whispered, "I can't believe this. Please, please come with me. Let's sit somewhere and talk. I need to know what happened." But Ella shook her head, pulling her hand back in shame. "No, David. Look at me. Look how I am. I don't deserve to stand close to you anymore." David's voice cracked as he answered, "Don't say that. I carried this pain for years, thinking you were gone forever. And today God has brought you back to me. I can't just walk away. I won't leave you again. Please, let me take you somewhere we can talk." Ella's eyes dropped. Her tears flowed silently. "I can't," she whispered. David bit his lip, then stood up abruptly. "Wait here. Don't move." He ran back into the shopping mall, leaving Ella and the child by the roadside. Moments later, he returned, carrying shopping bags filled with beautiful clothes, dresses for Ella and new outfits for the little girl. He dropped the bags at her feet and said softly, "Please, take these. You'll change into them. Come with me." Just this once, Ella stared at the clothes, then at David. Slowly, she nodded. Moments later, they were in David's sleek white Range Rover. The ride was silent, tense, but filled with emotions. He drove them straight to a nearby hotel. David arranged a room and handed the bags to Ella. "Go inside, freshen up, change into these. I'll wait here." Ella hesitated, but finally entered with her daughter. When she came out later, David almost couldn't breathe. She was transformed, glamorous once again, shining with a beauty that time and suffering had not destroyed. David walked to her, took her hand gently, and almost broke into tears. "You're still the most beautiful woman I've ever known." He led her into the hotel's restaurant where they sat opposite each other. The weight of years of pain and unanswered questions hung in the air. Then David leaned forward. His voice was soft but heavy. "Ella, please, tell me everything. Where have you been all these years? What happened to you?" Ella lowered her eyes. Her hands trembled as she gripped her daughter close. Her lips parted, but no words came out, only tears. David reached across the table, holding her hands firmly. "Don't be afraid, okay? Whatever it is, we'll face it together. I promise you, I'm not leaving you again." Ella finally looked up at him. Her eyes were full of sorrow, full of pain, but also full of something David had not seen in years. She told him about what had happened, and lastly she whispered faintly, "Everything that happened was because of the secret your family buried from you, David." Her voice broke, and she covered her face with her hands, crying uncontrollably now. Tears slipped through her fingers. The secret shattered David. His eyes widened, his body went cold. He was shocked to know that it wasn't fate that separated them. It was an unbelievable secret his very own family had hidden from him all these years. He stood, walked around the table, confused, and couldn't believe what he had just heard, and gently he drew close and pulled her into his arms. "Ella," he murmured, "don't cry. You don't have to carry this alone anymore. You're safe now, okay?" She sobbed against his chest, and for a few moments, all he did was hold her, stroking her hair, feeling her trembling body in his arms. When she finally calmed, he whispered, "And this child, is she?" Ella nodded calmly. Tears dripped from her eyes. David froze. His entire body stiffened. He slowly pulled back to look at her face. She's mine?" he stammered. Ella lowered her gaze. Her cheeks dripped with tears. "Yes, David. She's your daughter." The words hit him like thunder. His knees weakened. His chest tightened with emotions too strong to name. He turned his eyes to the little girl sitting quietly beside her mother, nibbling on the food the waiter had placed before her. My daughter?" he whispered. His voice cracked. "All this time? My flesh and blood?" Again, Ella nodded silently. David staggered. Tears filled his eyes until they blurred his vision. He leaned forward suddenly, reaching for the child. "Come here, my angel," he said in a shaky voice. The little girl looked at her mother for reassurance. Ella gave a weak nod. Slowly, the child climbed into David's lap. As soon as her tiny body rested against his chest, David broke down completely in tears. He couldn't control the emotions anymore. "My angel," he whispered, "I am so sorry. I am so sorry I wasn't there for you." Ella stared at him through her own tears, torn between fear and hope. For the first time in years, David felt alive again. but deep inside, he knew the war had just begun. The following days were a blur of emotions. David lodged Ella and her daughter in the hotel, refusing to let them return to wherever they had been living before. Each morning, he would come by with new clothes, new toys, and food, eager to make up for the years lost. Ella, though grateful, was still hesitant. She smiled sometimes, but her eyes looked worried. She would often sit at the edge of the bed, staring into space. Her thoughts locked in shadows she couldn't bring herself to share yet. One morning, David arrived with a big smile. He found Ella sitting on the bed, watching her daughter play with a new teddy bear he had bought. "I can't stop looking at her," David said, leaning against the doorframe. "She has my eyes. The way she smiles, it's like looking at myself when I was a child." Ella smiled faintly, but said nothing. He came closer, then added with determination, "I have to travel for a business conference in California. Just 5 days. When I return, I'm going to take you to see my family. I can't wait to see the look on their faces when they see you alive." His tone was deep with anger. Ella's eyes widened in fear. "No, David. Please don't. You know your mother never wanted me. She never thought I was good enough for you. I don't want to cause you problems with her." David frowned but shook his head. "Ella, that? That doesn't matter anymore. You are mine. That's all that matters. And I will make them regret the secret they had buried away from me all these years." Ella lowered her eyes, still unconvinced and panicking, but she didn't have a choice than to trust him. David kissed her forehead. "Don't worry. When I return, everything will be all right. We will fight this together." He kissed the little girl's forehead and left. That evening, he left for the airport. On the flight, his mind was restless. The image of Ella's tears haunted him, but he convinced himself he would fix everything. He just had to. Meanwhile, Ella stood by the window of the hotel, holding her daughter close. She watched the city lights flicker outside. Her lips trembled as she whispered into the night, "Oh Lord, help me. The truth will shake everything. But maybe this time, justice will finally come." She held her daughter tighter, rocking her gently. The 5 days of David's trip to California felt like 5 months to Ella. Each night, Ella lay awake in the hotel room, watching her daughter's chest rise and fall as she slept peacefully, staring into space and wondering what would happen when David's words finally came true. "I can't wait to see the look on their faces when they see you alive," he had said in fury. Those words haunted her. They promised justice, but they also carried danger. She often touched the bracelet on her daughter's wrist, the same one David had recognized that fateful day. It was more than just jewelry. It was the only proof of a love she thought had been buried forever. Finally, the conference ended, and David flew back home. The very next morning, he went straight to the hotel where Ella and the child were staying. The little girl ran into his arms the moment she saw him, and David lifted her high. His laughter echoed in the room. "I missed you, my angel," he said, kissing her forehead. He turned to Ella, "And I missed you even more." Ella blushed faintly. Her eyes glistened. She had missed him too, more than she dared admit. David sat them down. Excitement bubbled in his voice. "Ella, the time has come. My parents are organizing our family gathering in 2 weeks. It happens every 6 months. Almost all our relatives and business associates will be there. This time, I'm going to introduce and show you to them as my wife-to-be." Ella's heart skipped a beat. "David, are you sure?" she wanted to say. But David cut in firmly. "Forget the fear, Ella. Even my mum can't control me anymore. I've waited too long for this moment. I want the world to know that you are alive and to expose the truth." Ella trembled, but then she nodded faintly. That evening, David called his mother. "Hello, Mum," he said with a smile. "My handsome son," Mrs. Rebecca answered cheerfully. "How are you?" "I'm fine, Mum. I'm calling about the family event, and guess what? I have a surprise for you on that day," David replied. Rebecca laughed. "A surprise?" "Tell me," David chuckled. "I'll be coming with the woman I want to marry." Rebecca's tone hardened. I hope she's from a family of wealth and hope she has class. You know I don't want any dirty, low-class girl as your wife." David smiled faintly. "Don't worry, Mum. You'll like her. She has class. And I have a bigger surprise for you too." Rebecca laughed softly. Bigger surprise? Really? Good. I can't wait to see her and the big surprise too. David's voice lowered. Then make sure the whole family and all our business associates home and abroad are there. Make it perfect, because this time the surprise I'm bringing is bigger than you can imagine. And this gathering will be one nobody will ever forget. He ended the call and his smile faded. 2 weeks passed quickly. The day of the gathering finally arrived. David's parents lived in a massive mansion on the high hills of the city, overlooking the city lights of Lagos. Their family empire was well known, a dynasty of wealth, power, and influence. Every gathering was like a festival. Luxury cars lined the compound, servants rushed about, and relatives arrived from abroad. David's mother, Mrs. Rebecca, was the queen of the house. Tall, elegant, with sharp eyes that saw everything, she was known for her pride and arrogance. She often boasted that no ordinary girl would ever enter her family as a daughter-in-law. That morning, she walked around the mansion giving instructions to the staff. Her jewelry glittered. The scent of her perfume filled everywhere. She had been telling everyone that her son was bringing a classy woman as his future wife, and she couldn't wait to show her off. "Ah, my son has taste," she told her friends proudly. "I know he will never disappoint me with some useless girl from the street." "No way." Her friends laughed, nodding in agreement. Meanwhile, David was on his way, driving his Range Rover with Ella beside him and their daughter sitting quietly at the back. Ella's palms were sweaty. Her heart raced as the gates of the mansion drew closer. She remembered this place all too well. Once upon a time, she had walked here with love in her heart, only to be rejected, insulted, and left broken. Worst of all, she had faced a secret that David had sworn to finally confront openly today. "David," she whispered, her voice shook. "I don't think I can do this." David squeezed her hand firmly. "Ella, look at me. You are no longer the poor, broken girl they once mocked. You are now the mother of my child, the love of my life. You are everything to me. Hold your head high. You belong here as much as anyone else." Ella swallowed hard, nodding faintly. She wished she had David's courage. When they finally arrived, the mansion gates opened and the car rolled inside. Relatives, business associates, and friends were already gathered in the compound, sipping champagne and chatting. As David stepped out, all eyes turned to him. He was tall, handsome, dressed in a sharp black suit. But the real shock came when he opened the passenger door and held out his hand. Ella stepped out slowly, dressed in a beautiful gown David had chosen for her. Her beauty shone like the morning sun. Her presence turned heads instantly. People whispered among themselves, "Who is she? Where did David find her?" David's mother came rushing forward, her face lightened up. She hugged her son tightly. "My darling, boy, welcome. You look more handsome every day." Then she turned to Ella, her smile widened. "My God, David, this is the woman you've chosen? She is beautiful, so elegant. I knew you would never disappoint me." She held Ella's hands warmly, not even recognizing her. "Welcome, my daughter. You are truly the best. My son has chosen wisely." David forced a smile. "Yes, Mum. I told you she's classy." His father, Chief Williams, joined them, calmer and less boastful. He shook David's hand warmly, then gave Ella a kind nod. "You are most welcome, my dear." Ella bowed her head slightly. "Thank you, sir." But her heart was pounding. She could barely breathe. Inside the hall, the gathering was grand. Chandeliers sparkled above, music played softly, and the whole house smelled of delicious meals. Laughter and chatter echoed everywhere. Yet in the midst of all the glamour, Ella felt like a stranger. She clung to David's arm. Her fear grew with every smile and every glance from his family. David leaned close and whispered, "Don't worry. Just stay calm. You're fine with me. They wouldn't expect what will hit them tonight." She nodded weakly, trying to steady her trembling hands. Finally, as the night deepened, David tapped his glass with a spoon. The sound cut through the noise. Slowly the hall quieted. All eyes turned to him. "Ladies and gentlemen," David began. His deep voice sounded across the hall. "Thank you all for coming tonight. This family gathering has always been about celebrating our legacy. But tonight, I want to share something even greater. Tonight, I want to introduce the woman who means everything to me. The crowd clapped politely. Everyone smiled. Mrs. Rebecca's face shone with pride. David turned to Ella. His eyes were tender. He took her hand and lifted it gently. "This woman is my heart. She is the one I want to spend the rest of my life with." Cheers filled the hall. Some relatives shouted, "Congratulations!" Others clapped loudly. But then David's voice changed, becoming firm, his gaze fixed on his mother. "Mother," he said slowly, "do you remember Ella Simon?" The hall froze. The name fell like a heavy stone in water. The cheerful noise died instantly. Heads turned, whispers broke out. Rebecca's smile vanished, her face stiffened. "Ella Simon?" she said sharply. "Why would you mention such a name here? That girl is dead, long gone. Don't disgrace us by speaking of her." David's lips curled into a cold smile. He squeezed Ella's hand tighter and said, "No, Mother. She isn't dead. She is alive." Gasps echoed through the hall, and slowly David turned to Ella and pulled her forward. "Because Ella Simon is standing right here." The hall went silent. Forks stopped in mid-air. Glasses froze halfway to lips. Every eye now fixed on David, Ella, and Mrs. Rebecca. Rebecca's face drained of color. Her lips trembled. What nonsense is this?" she stammered. Her voice shook. "David, what game are you playing? That girl is dead. I was at her funeral. I watched her coffin go down. How dare you bring up her name here?" David's grip on Ella's hand tightened. His voice rang clear, steady, and firm. "No, Mother. She didn't die. Your plan failed. Look well. The woman standing here, alive and breathing, is Ella Simon." Again, gasps and murmurs swept across the hall. Some relatives stood up in shock, trying to get a closer look. Ella's body trembled, but she stood firm beside David. Slowly, she brushed her hair back, revealing her full face to Mrs. Rebecca and the crowd now. Rebecca stumbled back a step. Her hand flew to her chest. No, this is impossible. You can't be alive," she stammered. Ella's voice shook but carried strength. "Yes, Mrs. Rebecca, I am alive. The same girl you hated, the same girl you tried to erase from your son's life. But God did not allow your plan to succeed." The crowd gasped again. Business associates exchanged uneasy glances. Family members whispered loudly. Chief Williams, David's father, frowned deeply. "Rebecca, what is this woman saying? What does she mean?" he asked, still shocked. Rebecca shook her head wildly, trying to deny it. "She's saying nonsense. This low, wretched thing here is just trying to disgrace me." But Ella's tears fell freely as she stepped forward. Her voice cracked with pain. "Am I lying? That night, years ago, when your hatred for me grew too much, you sent men to murder me. They beat me and stabbed me until I could not move. They left me bleeding by the roadside. You thought I would die. You wanted me gone forever so your son could marry a woman of your class." The hall erupted in murmurs. Everyone couldn't believe what they were hearing. Ella's voice broke as she continued, "But God saved me. A stranger found me and rushed me to the hospital. I survived, but I had to hide." Rebecca's knees weakened. She fell back into a chair. Her body shook uncomfortably now. David's eyes burned with fury. His voice thundered across the hall. "So it is true, Mother. You hated her so much that you tried to kill the woman I loved. You are heartless." Rebecca couldn't say a word. Guilt was written all over her face. Chief Williams staggered, clutching his chest. "Rebecca, you tried to kill her and framed her death. I thought you only hated an innocent girl. How could you soil your hand in blood?" At this moment, Rebecca's lips trembled. I only wanted her to disappear. I didn't mean—" "You didn't mean what?" David cut in sharply. "You didn't mean to kill her. You didn't mean to destroy my life. You didn't mean to rob me of the woman I ever loved. You're a monster. And guess what? You're about to see the biggest surprise I promised you." He lifted his hand and snapped his fingers. The doors at the far end of the hall opened. Every head turned. And there, walking shyly in a beautiful sparkling gown, was a little girl, Ella's daughter. Her small steps echoed against the marble floor. Her innocent face looked like a mirror of David's own childhood. The hall exploded. Gasps, whispers, murmurs filled the room. "Who is she?" She looks just like David. Could it be? The little girl walked straight to David. He bent down, scooped her into his arms, and turned back to the crowd. "This," he said firmly, his voice broke with emotion, "is my daughter, my blood. The child my mother tried to erase from this world with her mother, Ella. But God preserved her." The crowd went wild. Some stood, opening their mouths in disbelief. Others shook their heads. The shock was overwhelming and truly unexpected. David's father staggered forward, his eyes wet with tears. He looked at his wife, Rebecca. "How can you be so heartless to this poor lady and the innocent child she was carrying? Your own granddaughter. This is unbelievable. You're worse than a monster." Rebecca couldn't talk or deny it anymore. Her face was covered in tears of regrets. The truth was now laid bare. Chief Williams walked closer to David and touched the child's cheek softly. His lips trembled. "My granddaughter, after all these years. I never knew. Forgive me, my dear." He turned to Ella, his tears flowed. "My daughter, forgive me too. I never knew the depth of your suffering. I never knew my wife was capable of such wickedness. On behalf of this family, I am truly sorry." Ella's tears streamed down as she bowed her head and nodded calmly. Rebecca buried her face in her hands, crying bitterly. Everyone finally saw her for the monster she is. David stood tall, his face hardened. "Mother, your pride and wickedness cost me everything. You almost destroyed me, but you failed. Today your shame is exposed before everyone." He paused. Then he swallowed hard. His voice was heavy with pain. "I will not press charges against you, but from today you are no longer part of my life. You will never come near me, Ella, or my child again." "It is over," Rebecca cried uncontrollably, begging, but no one moved to comfort her. Her shame was too great. Meanwhile, Chief Williams still embraced his granddaughter, kissing her forehead. Then he hugged Ella tightly. "Welcome back to the family, my daughter. From today, you are our own." The hall erupted in shouts. People cheered, but at the same time wiped tears from their eyes for the touching moment that just happened. David pulled Ella close, holding her hand high. His voice shook with emotion. "I said it before, and I'll repeat it now. This is the woman I will marry. This is the mother of my child, and nothing will ever separate us again." Ella wept in his arms, her daughter cuddled against them. For the first time in years, she felt safe, she felt whole, she felt alive. This story teaches us that as parents, instead of fighting against your child's choice of a spouse, support them, guide them, and pray for them. Pride and wickedness only lead to shame. No matter how long lies are hidden, the truth will always find its way out. What do you think of this story? Do you think David should have forgiven his mother, or should she have faced the wrath for what she did? Tell me in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Roots of the African Tales for more powerful stories like this. Remember, love always wins, and wickedness never lasts forever.